My name is Iman and I'm from Italy.
And my name is Johanna, and I come from America.
I decided to come to study here in Korea because I wanted to improve my Korean language, and also I wanted to experience the Korean life and culture. And yeah, I know it's hard during the pandemic. I came in February, like in the beginning of the pandemic, and a lot of people told me, Iman, why you are going there in this time? It's really hard. You wanna die. Like they said a lot of things, but I think that if you wanna see how it is a country, you should go and see it also in the bad moments, when something happening, so you can see how the country prevent and how the country do a lot of things.
As for me, I had to study abroad as part of a graduation requirement, and I decided to come to Korea because of the influence from one of my professors who was from Korea. I got really lucky when I came because I started to plan my study abroad before coronavirus really started to break out. I came in August and I started to make my plans about a year before I came. When coronavirus started to break out, my school decided to cancel study abroad programs that were led by Texas A&M, my school, but the programs that were exchange programs, they decided to leave up to each individual host university and host country. So because I chose to go to Korea and chose to come here, the decision was left to the school as to whether or not I could still come. But a lot of the programs got canceled, so I got really lucky that this one did not.
My experience here in South Korea with coronavirus, it was kind of up and down because I came in February, in the end of February, when in Italy there was still nothing, and in Korea it was the second worst country in all the world. And in the beginning it was hard because we was always in the dorm or like here in the university. We couldn't do a lot of things, but after we were a little bit free, so I had the opportunity to travel, meet my friends, and have the time to experience some new things. But after it was like again down, and we must stay in the dorm again. But after we was free because it was summer vacation, and I had really big moments because I met new people. I had a lot of experience in different cities in Korea. It was the time of my traveling time that I was waiting for it since I arrived in Korea. So it was really a kind of way to stress out.
When I came, actually, sometime before I came in June, it was the first time that they told me I would need to do a 2 week quarantine before the fall semester began. So I already had a plane ticket and I had to rebook it to come earlier so that I could quarantine in a dorm room alone by myself for 2 weeks. It was a really boring experience because every day they would bring me food, and the food was the highlight of my day because all I could do was eat food, play video games, watch movies, and I would just like look out my window waiting to go outside. Um, Most of the entertainment from the outside world came from the giant bugs that I found on my window. But beyond that, there was really not a lot to do until the 2 weeks was over, and then I was finally released from my dorm room. But now I'm free, I'm outside, and I'm gonna go on a little walk. And I got to do some exploring by myself because at the time there weren't any students on campus. Um, Most of the Korean students weren't here yet, and the other exchange students, most of them dropped out of the program, so there weren't a lot to begin with, and I had to explore a lot on my own at the beginning. It's kind of a hill.
So for exams and classes, well, starting from the last semester, it was in the beginning was online, so it was kind of weird not being in a class, meeting our professor, meeting our classmates. And before the ending, 1 month before the ending of the first semester, the classes changed because the situation in Korea got better, and so we had the opportunity to meet our classmates and doing the offline classes. Although in the beginning it was kind of weird, strange, because those are people that you met them, but not really.
Right, and then for this semester, we started with mostly face-to-face classes. There were a couple that were online if they had more than 10 or 15 students. But at a certain point, those classes had an opportunity to go face-to-face as well.
South Korea has lowered its COVID-19 prevention measures to level 1 as the long autumn holiday period comes to an end. Prime Minister Chung Se-kyung on Sunday announced that the current level 2 social distancing policy will be eased as of Monday, as the average number of daily infections has remained at around 60 or fewer for the past 2 weeks.
And this stayed the same until the very last 2 weeks of the semester, when the situation started to get bad again, so all the classes went back online.
South Korea could face a lockdown for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic began. Officials are considering raising restrictions to the highest level as the country battles its worst wave of infections. Schools in Seoul are set to go online as more than 700 new infections are confirmed. Lim Yun-suk reports.
Our exams that we took for the midterm, we took them normally, but since it changed the situation just a little while ago,
가리지 말고 빨간 점에 맞춰주세요. 정상 체온 36.1입니다. 유과하세요.
or even next week. One of our recent finals we had to take in this hallway, all like spread out in different classrooms, one person per classroom. Yeah.
So hello.
Hello,
What's your name?
Bakadir.
So, what are you going to do?
I will take an exam.
An exam.
Yeah.
This actual situation with coronavirus. Are you
Yeah,
happy?
it's very difficult.
Very difficult.
Yeah, but I must.
You must.
Yeah. Hi.
So you are going to have an exam
Yeah.
in the actual situation where it's like quite understandable.
Yeah, it's very bad situation. All of us, one student in one class. I have ever faced like this situation before.
What do you think
don't
about
know.
the actual situation of coronavirus?
It's again day by day increasing virus because of the weather, because cold and becoming winter.
So are you happy for this actual situation?
I don't know what to say actually. It's very bad.
What are you doing here?
I'm gonna take exam from my criminal class.
And why you are in a corridor?
because of this coronavirus situation, we are kind of happy to take exam in this way.
Okay, are you happy for this actual situation?
Not really, because it's kind of uncomfortable for me, but we have no other choice, so we should accept this.
So, the Korean prevention are in a way the first thing that all the world saw, and in a way we are lucky to be here, and we are lucky also that our countries are following what Korea is doing. For example, in Italy, they followed the Korean way to take the test in a kind of safe mode with the car driving, the car driving the test of coronavirus, and it helped a lot of people, not only in Italy, but almost all the country are doing this.
I think the prevention methods, for the most part, they're really smart and they make a lot of sense. However, sometimes, like compared to back home, it is interesting to see the reaction that like Korean people have versus back home, because one situation that I think of was when our class randomly got canceled and we didn't know what was happening until the professor told us that some girl who was a student knew someone who tested negative for coronavirus, but she still came into contact with it, so he wanted to be extra safe and we had class online. Versus when you look at my home university, there's more cases on my campus than there are in the entire country. Of South Korea, I mean. So, I don't know, South Korea, they definitely have better methods of preventing coronavirus, especially with like the contact tracing, because we say that we do that, but we don't.
And also how, like, for example, for schools, the university as Joe University or any other university now in the world are like taking kind of example by putting space between people. Like they start to think about it, but like it took like 6 months to think about it. Korea, it was like fast, and it, in a way, we are grateful to be here. So
you can walk in, you can have self-study space. I think the one thing that is not available is the group study. Of course, you can come with your roommates, but you may not be able to sit at the same table. It depends on what's available and where you're going.
Thinking about the future and saying what we think is going to happen is a little bit difficult, in my opinion, because it seems like people have been predicting what's going to happen for months, and in most cases they've been wrong. They've been saying the virus will go away by the summer, it'll go away by the fall, it'll go away by whatever. I do think there is the vaccine coming soon, so hopefully we can start to see some results from that, and maybe there'll be less spread, but I think it'll be a while until we start to really go back to normal, and even then I don't think there will be like going back to normal as we knew before coronavirus.
And also, like, now Korea is facing a kind of maybe Korea is going to be lockdown, and it's kind of big news for Korea because it was one of the country that was always trying to not go near the lockdown. But in this last period, like last October, Korea went to level 1, but nowadays is going to be in level 3, and it's really hard to believe it. But for me, that I'm staying here only for the winter vacation, I really hope that slowly it gets better. And they said that the vaccine is going to come out in the beginning of the next year. I hope that is like it's gonna be working, and it will be helpful for a lot of people. I hope that how I saw Korea for the first time, being free, full of people, not being afraid to go inside the subway, and seeing all the cultural thing without like limits. I hope that Korea will come out, and I hope that Jo can have the opportunity to experience it in her next semester, because it's totally different from how Korea it is now.